Namaste. Blessings, everyone. Hello. Hello. Welcome to Saturday Morning Musings, formerly known as Sunday Night Alive, but we're on a temporary Saturday morning schedule because I am in South Africa and we have a time difference. So I didn't think Sunday mornings would work. So we're on Saturday mornings. So welcome to this forum to explore topics pertaining to practical spirituality. How do we live more freer, fuller lives in this crazy, crazy world we live in? How do we experience more happiness? How do we make a difference? How do we honor our true self or our essence? So we're going to talk about that as always. I always talk about that, as you know. So nothing's new, and we need to talk about it now again because the world's a little crazy living from the outside in, which is never a good idea. So if you're new to me, my name is Reverend Denise Schubert. I am an ordained religious science minister, have been for 20 years, almost 25 years. I take that back. I work in the arena of possibility. I work in the arena of human potential. No matter who we are or where we are on our journey, there's always more. There's always a greater and freer, fuller expression of who we are. So today, my topic is know yourself better. And it's really about knowing yourself at all, which may sound rather simple and straightforward, but it's not really simple or straightforward in any way, shape, or form. So before I speak a blessing, if you're here with me, you can say something in the comments. I'm actually live with you this week. Last week I was recorded, and this coming week I think I might be recorded because I will be in Zanzibar. But today, right here, I'm here with you. So for me, I'm in Hoedspruit, South Africa until January, mid-January. I am, it is 4 o'clock in the afternoon where I am. If you're on the East Coast, it's 9 o'clock in the morning. If you're on the West Coast, it is, I think it's 6 o'clock, maybe 5 o'clock in the morning. Well, I can't remember now. So if you're with me, if you're normally an East Coast person, a West Coast person, you may not be with me while I'm here. But at any rate, so let's just take a breath together. I'm so happy to be here with you as always happy. Take a breath, just take a breath and let yourself melt into this moment, this amazing moment, this perfect moment. And even though the world may not feel perfect, even though your life may not seem perfect, even though there's all kinds of evidence around and about us that makes us think that things aren't perfect, they really are. And they are whole, perfect, and complete as they are. And so I just take a moment to bless our time together. I come here because it's my way of being a part of raising consciousness. You come here for your own reasons. And I know that we all, whether it's me or you, that we want our time here to be useful and to make a difference. And so that is what I'm blessing before we even start. Accept the blessing for yourself and for each other by joining me in saying amen, and so it is. And so we let it be. So I am keenly aware still of I'm keenly aware by talking to people back home, my friends, my family, that everyone's still struggling a little bit with the recent events in our country and perhaps in the world, or perhaps even in your personal life. And so even though oftentimes I feel like a broken record because I'm always saying the same thing, but this really is the most important thing to say. It is the most important thing for us to learn and for us to wake up to. And it's not about God or religion in any way. It is about understanding how the world works and how you work in the world. And nobody ever taught us these things. So it's not like you would know them without somebody telling you, or having a revelation or a spiritual aha moment. From the perspective of the ego, or as we'll see, what we call the conditioned personality, uh, from the position of the ego, the knowledge of the world and of yourself will be hidden from you. And all that remains, if it's hidden from you, is projection and perception, which by its very nature is not reality, really. It's not really reality. It's perception and projection. And in truth, projection and perception is all there is until we find a deeper awareness of who we are, and then the perception and projection become a spiritual one and not merely just an ego one. So we know that there's a self that has been made by the world. Your self, most of us, it's the only self most of us will ever know, because it's all we've ever been taught, right? The self that's been made by the world, the Buddhists called it the conditioned self. And the conditioning, it just simply means that it's not that we've been conditioned. We've been manipulated. We've been taught. We've been trained. And the conditioning is social. It's familial. It's through our schools, our religions. And it's actually crafted quite intentionally by the world you personally occupy. Babies are not born speaking Italian, or making or thinking of some things are good and other things are not good. Babies, nature has no judgment or the sense of other, that with the exception of human beings, the world we live in is a unity. So we inherit this identity, this false identity or conditioned identity from our surroundings, as well we should. There's nothing wrong with that. In fact, we have to, because to be in the world requires that we learn math and reading and socialization and everything else necessary to navigate this game called life. We must learn these things. But the problem with stopping there is that we're also taught that our happiness will come from right circumstances. Our peace of mind will come when everything around us is peaceful. We've been taught that abundance will come to us if we go to college. So we have the world is in kind of a sleepwalking state, not recognizing the power that we have as spiritual beings navigating a temporary reality. We are creators. We are creative. So, and the problem with this, of course, is that the world and most of its inhabitants don't feel creative and powerful. They don't feel happy and joyful, content, or thriving. They don't feel the meaning in life. We still are, as you know, we're just still fraught with injustice and war and hate and all of the things that we as human beings often accept as normal, or even perhaps even inevitable, but they are not. They are not. There is a you, there is a you beyond your name, beyond your face, that is eternal. It is a you that has deeper roots than the contents of your mind or the contents of your consciousness. But for the average person, this conditioned social self feels to be the only reality. It seems to be this is who I am. So to talk about a new reality of happiness or peace or contentment flies in the face of what seems to be empirical evidence to the contrary. So something in the world is amiss, which needs the light of awareness so that we feel better and do better as 8 billion souls who have chosen to occupy this time and space and dimension together. And we all want the world to be a better place, and we certainly all want our personal lives to be to be better. Now, let me see if I can find this. I love this quote by Socrates, who says, "An unexamined life is not worth living." I've used this quote many, many times. I found one by Byron Katie, who's the author of uh, the author of I can't remember the name of her book now, but at any rate, she says, "An unquestioned mind is the world of suffering." And I think this is exactly the same quote as Socrates, who says, "An unexamined life is not worth living." So to not examine life or to not question life is to be merely and only in this conditioned environment, which is not uh, really very much fun and not really very productive in terms of leading us to a world that can work for everyone. So in Socrates' quote, "An unexamined life is not worth living," he just simply means that to live on the hamster wheel of life, or to live in the rut we live in, or to live based on the rules somebody else has established for us, or to live in a deep degree of inauthenticity because we don't even know who we are, is hardly a life, especially when you have the opposite possibility, which is to be outrageously authentic and outrageously happy, outrageously creative, outrageously bodacious, outrageously adventuresome, outrageously courageous, outrageously abundant. All of these things are possible. All of these things are possible. So uh, the same with Byron Katie, that she's just saying that suffering is a function of an unquestioned mind. So in some ways, this examination simply involves asking ourselves questions with a willingness to discover the answers, or to simply make new ways of being and doing welcome. You could, I mean, most people don't even ask simple questions like, "Why am I unhappy?" Or "Why do I drink so much?" Or "Why can't I find a job I love?" Or "Why can't I find a love I love? Why can't I hold on to a relationship? Why am I always sick?" These are such great questions that the answer to the why specifically is not very useful, because you're never really going to know, because the subconscious, unconscious influences from our conditioning run so deep, we'll never really know what lies in this murky pool of our unconscious, subconscious. But the willingness to even question reality, even to question it, is powerful and will allow for some insight and for some inner guidance to begin to reveal itself to us. For most of you, most of you who have been following me for any length of time, know that I was 45 years old when I first began to feel like a chick who had been in the egg for too long. Right? I was so constricted, so reserved, so in a small space trying to break free. And I was relatively successful. I had a very lucrative career as a technology executive at a multi-office law firm in Los Angeles. I was also smoking a pack of cigarettes a day. I was also arguing, playing yo-yo with my weight, and nursing my third marriage was failing. I was just unhappy, unfulfilled, and in desperate need of answers to life's big questions. It's like, why am I here? What's the point? What's the meaning? And I finally just came to a point where I just insisted. It's like, tell me, show me, show me more, or let me go. Show me more, or let me go. That's how I kind of felt at the time, face down in the mud, saying, show me more. That was a pivotal moment that brought me to the Agape International Spiritual Center under the spiritual leadership of Dr. Michael Bernard Beckwith. I was obviously ready because I became a sponge to the teachings of the science and mind of spirit and spiritual philosophies. I was not a religious person growing up. My family was not religious. We weren't Catholic. We weren't Baptist. We were, I suppose my mom would have said we were Presbyterian soft, but only because she didn't want us to be nothing. So we had to be something, but there was no faith or practice, spiritual religious practice. Uh, but I am a lover of science, and I'm a lover of the spiritual laws and principles, which I know exist and which can be used by anyone to improve life. They can be used by anyone. So that journey, starting at 45, led me to obtain my master's degree in the study of consciousness and a ministerial license. I'm now 73 years old, and honestly can report that the past 25 years were not, could not have been possible or predictable without recognizing the unconditioned self or the real self of myself. Now, I am not special or gifted in any way. I'm not even particularly that smart. Uh, but meaning no but meaning this pathway to allow your authentic self to emerge, grow, and thrive is available to absolutely everyone, and it's available by something that I would call grace, or something by what grace meaning it's inherently your birthright to awaken to yourself with a capital S if you want to do that awakening. So doing that, now, why this is important right now that we revisit this again and again, I do talk about this particular thing a lot, is that so many of us are living from the outside in, that we're looking to the conditions and circumstances in the world to be right so that we can be happy, or to be right so that we can feel comfortable. And a lot of people don't feel comfortable or peaceful or right now because of the conditions. And we've got to stop that, because it's the age-old struggle of trying to manipulate the exterior world to arrange itself in such a way that you can have a good life. And the truth is that we have to rearrange the inside. Once you rearrange the inside, once you catch in consciousness something more than the conditioning, then you are on your way to a more fulfilling life experience. So, I often do the analogy of a caterpillar to a butterfly, but it's the same. You can't really talk to the caterpillar, or you can't talk to the conditioned mind about unlimited possibilities. You can't. You can only talk to the butterfly about unlimited possibilities, because the butterfly has made the journey from conditioned to unconditioned, from asleep to awake. So, and when you are living in butterfly consciousness, you will be impacted far less by what others are thinking or doing or not doing. You will feel more comfortable in your own skin. You will be more responsive and less reactive to everything around you. You will feel the miracle of life and the depth of emotion possible when you are actually experiencing life, living your life from the inside out. Now, this is not easy because, of course, um, because if change were easy, we would have all changed already, right? We would have already fixed our relationships. We would have healed all of our neurotic behaviors. We would have found the source of our individual unique happiness and well-being and purpose. All of that would have happened already. So I wanted to talk about a few things that we can do. So one, one, I think the most important is to entertain the possibility that there are things that you do not know, the knowing of which could and would greatly enhance your living experience. This takes a kind of humility and a kind of uh, naiveness, is that the right word? Naiveness, to step into a space that you may not have the answers, you may not be right, you may not know what's real, and just be open to possibility. In fact, I would think that's probably the number one thing. Number two is change your mind about changing. Do not, there's a there's a thought in the human consciousness that says people cannot change. So you may need to change your mind about changing. You might need, I did not know when I was 44 that I could be this happy. I did not know that I did not need to self-medicate. I did not know that I could live without smoking. I did not know that I could be a loving, kind, compassionate person with real true friends. I did not know that. I only knew what I knew. And what I knew kept me isolated. What I knew kept me fat. What I knew kept me smoking. What I knew kept me not being a very good partner. Are you with me? So, and then to recognize that all the things we are now currently railing about in the world, and we are railing, but all the things we think are not right, unjust, not, all of those things, the solution to all of those troubles are of the heart and not of the mind or of the muscle. So our thinking cannot undo what we want, need, or should undo in the world, because our thinking is what got us there. So we're trying to get to a place which is behind the thinking, underneath the thinking, transcendent to the thinking. So once you get there, once you can do that, you can change, shift, evolve, and grow. This emergence of something magnificent is the mandate of your soul's journey. So Jesus said, in the world you will have tribulation, but take heart, I have overcome the world. Jesus is not talking about himself, but he's talking about the awareness of our deeper and more honest and authentic identity. He's saying that the I am presence, the spiritual presence, your non-physical, ethereal presence, which is with you always, has the capacity to overcome the conditions, circumstances of the world. So, your unconditional happiness, contentment, and peace of mind can only come through this avenue and awareness. And until you make this distinction for yourself, like almost everyone, you will live in your head, believing that what you are thinking is real, desperately clinging to people, places, activities, and substances in search of fulfillment and happiness. So it is pretty critical that for you to break your way out of the egg, or to step off the hamster wheel we call life, is to open to the possibility that there is more, you are more, and that this life has meaning beyond what Fox News says, and that it is possible to be extraordinary. It's possible. So Emerson said, every man is a doorway through which the infinite passes into the finite. So the infinite, every man and woman is a doorway through which the infinite passes into the finite, through which God becomes human or man or woman, through which the universal becomes individual. So Michael Beckwith said, there are those who have wed and wooed some invisible presence until its atmosphere and essence have become woven into the fabric of their existence. Now, again, I'm not talking about a male god on a cloud determining 8 billion people's individual fate. So when we talk about, when Beckwith says, there are those who have wed and wooed some invisible presence until its atmosphere and essence have become woven into the fabric of their existence. We're talking about something that is so mysteriously wonderful, which is relatively self-evident in my world, not in the conditioned mind's world. So pre-awakening, maybe I wouldn't get this as clearly, but that we did not make the world. You and I, no human beings did not create the world. We did not create sunsets. We did not create the processes that, I mean, just the processes in the body are miraculous. We didn't do any of that. But some something did. And we are an extension of that something in the same way that the tree is, the same way that the animal is, the same way that the mineral is, the same way that we are an extension of life. So we want to practice as best we can um, what that can look like. But like, what can that look like, right? All right. So I would say step one is catch a glimpse of the real you. So theoretically, this can take one time for 1 second to catch that glimpse, or it can take 10 years, but depending on, you know, where you are and where your soul is and what you're needing to undo and how much conditioning, how much damage was done by your conditioning. Uh, by the way, the conditioning always does some, whether it's a little bit or a lot, because it conceals our true identity. And if your upbringing had a lot of abuse, mental, emotional, sexual, spiritual abuse, we might have a little more work to do. But theoretically, the goal is to catch a glimpse of you beyond all of those circumstances. So meditation, contemplation, walking in nature are all quite helpful. You might need to make, in my case, I do want to say that um, quitting smoking and getting healthy, well, I should say getting healthy was the context. Out of the context of getting healthy or improving my well-being, I quit smoking, I lost weight, I exercised, I worked on de-stressing my environment. But all those required a physical alteration, because the body that you have, actually listen here, it's pretty important. The body that the condition of the world has left you with is a reflection of the conditioning of the world that you got. So whether you're sick or healthy, whether you have an addiction, whether you have other physical, emotional ailments, uh, taking some radical physical shift can be what it takes to actually get a glimpse of what's underneath quitting smoking. I remember it probably took a year, because when I finally quit smoking, this may sound like nothing, but quitting smoking is just like crack cocaine or alcohol or shopping or sex or gambling. It doesn't matter how you self-medicate. But you know, when I first quit smoking, it was the only way I had dealt with for 25 years my suffering or my pain or my anger or my resentment or my boredom. It's the only way. So once I stopped doing it, then all those things had to come up to be healed, right? I had to learn to live free of that crutch. So I'm not saying this is really simple. I'm just saying that it's worth it. And I'm just saying that if you want to, if you actually want to have a life and a world that's better, we have to do something, right? The second thing is to decide how to honor what you glean from the glimpse. So now, listen, this is pretty important. So when you say, "Dear universe, I'm ready to be more. I'm ready to have more. I'm ready to do more. I'm ready to be happy. I'm ready to be satisfied and fulfilled. I'm ready to give my gifts and talents to a world. I'm ready to stop hiding behind my neuroses. I'm ready." And then the universe tells you what to do. Then the universe whispers in your ear, "Oh, Denise, that's great. Quit smoking." Or, "Denise, that's great. Go hug a tree." Don't say no. So if the universe, once you get the internal nudges, don't ignore them, as they are the path to your wholeness, and they will pass. Remember, those are the goo moments for the caterpillar. The goo moments are when you're in the transformation process, because remember, transformation is not about change, really. Transformation's about becoming an entirely new order of being. So changing to really transform is not for sissies. You will need to decide if the time and the effort to grow is worth it for you. The third, uh, the third, uh, the third tip is change what you say to yourself and to others. So I think you can, I think that you can create the transformation going in either direction. I think that if you could take 6 months off from your life and go study with a master teacher, or if you could get yourself out of your life situation, it might be easier, to change or to transform, to become something a different order of being, because you're keep in mind that the conditioned self is living a life that it was taught to live and has been living since it started living it. So it's kind of a little bit science fiction to think, really, there's another way I could be a different way. So one way is to change yourself inside, and then you will automatically change what you say to yourself and to others. But you can also do it the other way. In fact, Will Bowen, a Unity minister, the founder of A Complaint-Free World, he talked about in his book how the brain is the manufacturer and the mouth is the customer. So your brain has been trained to think a certain way. I like this. I don't like this. That person's an idiot. These people, an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. A person should be suffered. They should pay for what they did. The mind thinks of these thoughts hundreds and thousands of times a day. And Will Bowen would say, when you speak them, you create reality. When you speak them, you amplify them. When you speak them, you make them real. So if you want to change how your brain works, change what you say. Just don't say it. And he says that you don't have to worry about what you think. You just have to worry about what you say. So so do your best. Let's start with yourself. Stop. I'm going to show you some words to a beautiful song in just a minute. Oh, I'm not oh, no, I'm gonna say the words to you. But stop dissing yourself. Stop disrespecting yourself. Stop disrespecting others. Stop tearing yourself down. Stop tearing other people down. Just because somebody's not the same political party as you isn't any right to annihilate them in your mind. Just because somebody doesn't believe what you believe doesn't mean you're right. It doesn't. Remember, we already did this. It doesn't mean you're right. It's all perception and perspective. When you're sleepwalking, it's all perspective and perception. It's got nothing to do with reality. I love this quote by Byron Katie. She says, "You move totally away from reality when you believe that there is a legitimate reason to suffer." How many of you think that right now we have a legitimate reason to suffer? I don't know. I think you should see. All right. And then step number 4 is to become a believer. Now, faith, really has to do with faith. In some ways, faith in some idea or something greater than us is helpful when we're wanting to transform, because otherwise you're just leaning into the world, and the world doesn't really have anything more to offer a person who desires to awaken. I mean, really, the world has given you everything it can, and whatever it's given you probably isn't enough to cause you or the world to be better human beings or happier human beings. So I'm definitely, as I said, not talking about a God in a cloud somewhere, that we're talking about the idea of a creative and connective power and presence that is in back of all that there is. So all the great masters and teachers talk about the necessity of our believing, the necessity of our commitment and devotion are necessary to make any lasting and meaningful changes. So there's really nothing simple about getting off of the hamster wheel of life. The belief we have about ourselves, our world, our families are deeply ingrained in our subconscious, unconscious, but we can do it. We can do it. So the truth is your spirit, your spirit, your authentic, beautiful, amazing, inspiring, loving, kind, gorgeous, abundant spirit is waiting for you to find it. The world is waiting for that version of you to emerge. Do you remember, you may not ever heard the song. I'm going to give you the link for it. I don't sing. You're going to be very happy I'm not going to sing this, but Jamie Lula, he is a songwriter, singer, who I met and actually became quite good friends with in the day at Agape. And one of the songs he wrote is called "You Are the Light." And the words to this are, I'm going to give you the link so you can actually hear him sing it. But he says, "You're not bad, you're not selfish, you're not ugly, you're not broken, damaged, or dysfunctional. You're not the things you tell yourself you are, nor the opinions of others or old scars. You are the light of the world." He says, "You're not stupid, lazy, you're not too fat or too thin, you're not a big mouth or a crybaby, you're not a bully or original sin. You're not the things you tell yourself you are, the opinions of others or old scars." So this song really speaks to how, let me get the link for you so you can listen to it later. Let me put a Control V. But it's a very wonderful, very, very upbeat, wonderful song. So Howard Thurman said, "Don't ask what the world needs. Ask what makes you come alive and go do it. Because what the world needs is people who have come alive." And I would say to you that this aliveness is possible and inevitable when we recognize that the self that we think we are is not the only reality or the deepest reality or the most real reality, that there is a you that is birthless, deathless, and eternal, and that you can no more die than God can die. You were born, you incarnated into this body by choice in order to experience and express love. Once you leave this body, you will continue experiencing and expressing love no matter what the next dimension is. And that the sooner we recognize that within ourselves here, right here and now, in this earth plane, not only will we have a better life experience, which is all by itself worth it, all by itself important, all by itself. I mean, think of this. Think of your healthy body. Think of your ability to get past troubles faster. Think about your releasing the past so it no longer has a hold on you. Think about what life would be if you were free, if you were free. But even beyond that, and I want that for you, think about what the world would be if more and more people let live from the inside out, live from the heart, lived from an awareness of unity and oneness, live from an awareness of our co-creative capacity, that we don't have to be victims of a difficult childhood or victims of the political parties or victims of we're not here to be. It's a crazy to it's crazy for me to remember how victimized I felt by everyone and everything. Those days are gone. They could be gone for you as well. So that's the message for today. The message is for day know yourself better. The real charge for the day is to know yourself, is to know the real you, is to get underneath your neuroses. Because you, as Jamie Lula, I encourage you to go to YouTube and listen to a song, You Are the Light by Jamie Lula, that you are not any of the things that you think you are. You are the light of the world. So go out and be the light. The world needs alive people, and the world needs people of light. All right, so that concludes Saturday Morning Musings from South Africa, from Denise Schubert, founder and director of A Life of Spiritual Power. If you want uh, more, you can go to my website, deniseschubert.com. On my website, you can connect with me. You can schedule a coaching session. You can look at beautiful pictures of Africa, my home away from home. You can support my ministry through your donations. You can read past blogs, do all kinds of things. You can sign up for my newsletter. So take a breath. Take a breath, beautiful people, happy people, peaceful people. And let's close our time in prayer. And just to remind you that we do not pray. We really do not pray to a God to do anything for us. Whatever that word means to you, what the God of your own understanding has already done everything for you, he, she, or it can possibly do. You have life, you have breath, you have a heart, you have creative capacity, you're a possibility, you're a creator of possibilities, you're a molder of molecules. So I speak a word for and about your life to know that you have everything you need, the courage, the commitment, the power to change. You do. And to let go of everything that no longer serves you and to move in the direction that will not only enhance your life, but enhance life for the world. Don't worry about what other people will think. Don't worry about being judged by other human beings. The only person you need to worry about is you. You and your maker, whatever your maker is to you. I like to say for myself that God and I are a majority. So if I need advice, if I need counsel, if I need a direction, I don't ask the world, I ask myself. And I trust what it says. So for this and the opportunity to be together, we give thanks. We let this be. I look forward to hearing from you during the week, or I will see you next week. So peace and blessings. Have a wonderful, wonderful Saturday and weekend, and I will see you soon. Bye.